Alright, long awaited, much talked about, tricentennial event, UFC 300 is now behind us. And I know there's a lot of talk leading into this that UFC 299 was so much better, UFC 298 was so much better. I think now we can all say that UFC 300 was one of, if not the greatest fight card that's ever been put on, boxing, MMA, or otherwise. Even still, when I go back through and I look at all the different fights that happened on UFC 300, it's insane. I mean, now a couple days removed, I almost forget that we saw Cody Garbrandt versus Davison Figueiredo, Jim Miller, Bobby Green, and so many more. I mean, if I wanted to make a video breaking down all the different fights, all the different iconic moments, and all the different massive storylines going on in the world of combat sports as a result of this card, this video would be 3 hours long. But in this video, I'll be breaking down some of the key things that happened on this card that fight fans are going to remember for years to come. Let's get into it. First and foremost, the two-time Olympic gold medalist Kayla Harrison making her UFC debut against, yes, an older Holly Holm, but still a dangerous Holly Holm. We saw that early in this fight when Holly Holm was able to reverse Kayla Harrison and get on top, which absolutely nobody saw coming. That being said, after this, it was complete and total one-way traffic. Kayla Harrison, probably the most jacked woman I've ever seen in my entire life, proceeded to just overpower Holly Holm and get a very dominant, very one-sided victory, setting her up for some major fights. I'm assuming now after this, she's going to be a shoo-in for a title fight, and if she's able to get the belt, legend has it that Amanda Nunes might be lured out of retirement for what is said to be a mega fight against Kayla Harrison for all intents and purposes, the title of greatest female fighter on the planet. Not to mention that this was still on the prelims, a very stacked prelim card. In the very next bout, we had Aljamain Sterling put on a complete and total wrestling clinic against Calvin Kattar, showing that Aljamain's strength and grappling most definitely does translate up a weight class. He was also able to land some pretty good and pretty quick combinations on who was supposed to be the dominant boxer in this matchup, Calvin Kattar. So as Aljamain is able to adjust to fighting at 145, the guy is for sure going to be a problem for a lot of the top contenders. We also had a battle of two gigantic, hard-hitting Eastern European men in a fight that was almost definitely a #1 contender fight. And with a beautiful performance by Jiri Prochazka, he was able to effectively put himself right back in title contention. His next fight is either going to be a #1 contender fight or it's going to be a title fight. Jiri, who's already a fan favorite, is quickly cementing himself as maybe the most entertaining light heavyweight on the planet. And then we move to the, again, incredibly stacked main card, which got kicked off by Mr. Dana White privilege himself, Bo Nickel. All jokes aside, even though Bo Nickel was finally met with some level of resistance in the grappling department, with Cody Brundage being a former Division II wrestler, which, was a far cry away from being the dominant Division I force that Bo Nickel has been. And I know that a lot of the fans out there, and even Bo Nickel himself, is giving himself a hard time over this performance. But at the end of the day, he still comes away from this with a 100% finish ratio. And while yes, he does still have a lot to prove in a division like middleweight where there are essentially 0 grapplers at the top of the division, if you give this guy a couple more years to kind of tighten up some of the holes in his striking and adapt his style to be more effective as an MMA grappler, despite all of these kind of gimme matchups that Dana White's thrown his way, the guy does legitimately have top contender and potentially championship potential, although of course the jury's still out. And then again, banger after banger, Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Charles sinking in the guillotine right from the start of the fight. I know everybody thought that it was over for Arman. Arman being one of the guys that a lot of different media members are looking at as a potential champion by as soon as the end of the year, proved exactly why that is the case. Fighting out of the submission from Charles Oliveira of all people, and then coming back to put on a great performance in the striking. Arman being one of the only guys in recent memory that is ready, willing, and able to go toe-to-toe against Charles on the feet and live to tell the tale. Arman even initiating the grappling at times, attempting his own submission against Charles. And even though Charles was able to come back late with a really close submission attempt almost at the buzzer, Arman was able to come away with a split decision victory, proving that not only does he deserve the title shot, but if he gets his chance against Islam, he might just win. And then of course the people's main event, a fight that needs its own breakdown, its own entire video, one of the greatest fights that I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing live. Everyone thought Max Holloway did not stand a chance because of the power of Justin Gaethje, but Gaethje, throwing these gigantic bombs, was taking a chance every time he swung because Max, being the quicker, faster, and more accurate puncher, was able to get the better of the boxing exchanges to that spinning back kick that was able to do serious damage on Justin Gaethje that landed over and over, breaking his nose, tiring him out, and Max Holloway with that Hall of Fame chin was able to stand toe-to-toe with Gaethje and get what is, in my opinion, probably the greatest knockout that has ever happened in the sport of MMA. God, I could just watch that over and over and over. And funny enough, this card actually started to slow down after that. We had the fight between Zhang Weili and Yan Xiaonan that ultimately looked like complete and total one-way traffic for Weili up until the end of the first round, where she essentially choked Yan out. But Jason Herzog, being one of the best referees in the business, allowed her to regain consciousness, make her way back to the corner, and fight on. And that's exactly what she did. Despite this being a clear victory for Zhang Weili, Yan was able to put up with the pressure and the power for the entirety of the 5-round fight. And even in a loss, she put on a great showing for herself. Her toughness was able to withstand the pressure that so many other fighters were not able to. And then, of course, the main event of the evening, the fight that everybody was waiting for. Going in, I think we all had that same mutual understanding that this fight was going to end in a knockout. I don't think anyone expected it to happen this soon, though. Both of these guys carrying absolute dynamite in both hands, and then did one of the most badass things you'd ever hope to see in an MMA fight. Getting caught with a low blow, never taking his eyes off of Jamal Hill, shooing Herb Dean away so that he could step in and land the one shot that you don't want to get caught by from Alex Pereira. Clean left hook, puts Jamal down and ultimately out, cementing himself as now the defending light heavyweight champion, and cementing that left hook as one of the most legendary punches in the history of combat sports. So there you have it. All in all, UFC 300. If you ask me, this has got to be the best fight card from top to bottom of all time. MMA, boxing, kickboxing, you'd be hard pressed to find something that is able to compete with the level of greatness that we were able to witness. And oh, by the way, at the post-fight press conference, Dana White dropped a bunch of bombshells on us. Confirmed UFC 302 main event, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, which is also going to be the first fight where they break out the new golden gloves for championship fights. And then UFC 303 International Fight Weekend. The Mac is back. I know I say this in just about every single video, but it always holds true. There really has never been a better time to be a fight fan. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think about UFC 300? Do you think it lived up to the hype? Because I definitely do. And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.